Okay, so welcome to Industry Talks with Forteck. Today we have Chris Harris on the show. Chris, you want to start with the introduction? Tell us a bit about yourself and your career. The topic today is tree planting.
Cool. Yeah, my name is Chris Harris. I'm the owner and general manager of Shakti Reforestation, and I've been interested in tree planting since I was a little kid. I was really, really into nature, and so as soon as I heard about tree planting, I knew that's what I wanted to do, and here I am.
Great on. And why did you choose a career in tree planting? You mentioned a little bit that you enjoyed kind of the outdoorsness of it and stuff. I guess what was some of the main top 3 reasons why you decided to go into tree planting, or how did that sort of happen?
It happened when I was a kid. I met a tree planter when I was 12, and she said I could go tree planting when I grew up, and I knew right away that that's what I was going to do. And but I was always really, really into nature, and I just like to be outside, so it was just an obvious choice. And so it's cool. I've got to do the thing I always knew I would do. So.
And you started in traditional forestry planting, like cut blocks and stuff, is that right?
Yeah, I was like a traditional tree planter. I worked at a bunch of the big companies, and I worked at some of the small companies. I worked at Little Smoky, and that was really cool, like working with the smaller companies, and I always kind of liked that atmosphere. And then, one day I was talking to Chris Howard, was a guy who ran Elf. He was a really good contractor, and we just had this really long conversation. And then the next day I knew I was going to start my own company, and that's how it started.
And what year was that?
That was 2006. So yeah, I planted for 9 years, and now I've run Shakti for about 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
No, like 12 or 13
yeah, longer than that.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
Years are flying.
Got to update the story there.
Years go by faster when you're
having fun.
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And when did you transition from traditional forestry into more oil and gas planting, and how did that transition sort of take place?
It was sort of like when you start out, you kind of get what you can. Like I started as a tree planter contractor. I didn't have any management experience. I hadn't foremaned or anything. So I sort of got whatever jobs I could get, and we'd end up getting really small jobs. And then we just kind of got good at doing small jobs. And then because we're based in Alberta, doing oil and gas sites was sort of a natural fit.
Great on. What year did you roughly make that transition?
That was, I think I'd always done kind of special missions, like we'd always done projects that were like tricky access and just anything that was interesting or oddball, we'd kind of do. So I think I'd always sort of lean towards oil and gas. We'd always done a bit, like we still do some forestry stuff, but oil and gas, it just always worked out well for us. So that's what we do.
And the last time we met in person, you showed me some of the coding that you've been doing and some of the technology that you've been implementing into your organization. Maybe if you could just chat a bit about how important technology has been along the way and some of the stuff that you're doing now with that to make sure that things run smoothly and efficiently and maybe just touch on technology implementation.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I wasn't very good at math as a kid, and I always liked to be outside. So it wasn't like it didn't come easily, but then I kept running into, when you run a business, you end up sitting at the computer a lot. And then eventually I just embraced it. And then I just realized there was such a need for it. And it's a really applicable skill. And I think a lot of people in forestry could benefit a lot from it. And so I think when I realized that it was doable, then I really embraced it and enjoyed it. And there's a lot of things that you don't know what you don't know, and when you start to dig into it, you realize that there's a lot of ways it can help make things easier. And sat phones and stuff, or satellite technology, and having cell phones on the block is kind of a new thing. Having smartphones and all the apps and everything's getting better every year. So there's a lot of ways you can apply it.
Yeah, for sure. one thing that I liked when you showed me some of the stuff you were doing, it was you're implementing a lot of technology into like one system. And I know ourselves, we use a lot of different systems, like multiple different programs and everything. And it gets tough to onboard everyone to specific apps and things like that. So yeah, I really liked when you showed me that, what you've been able to do and how you've been able to integrate all the technology into one working system. It seemed to work. It seemed to look quite cool, and I'm sure you have a lot of efficiencies with that.
Thanks. Yeah. It wasn't really a conscious choice. It just, every use case, you're like, do we really want to take another app? Or like you said, onboarding people, like how many apps do they want on their phone, and then you have to sync them all together. So we just found it easier to kind of make our own system, and it's janky, and it's got its quirks, but it's our own, and it's suited to what we do. So yeah, I would advise anyone to just experiment and try a form or collecting data in some way, or try linking two things together instead of doing it in a really manual way. Just try to, or see if you can get someone to help you figure out how to connect two things together automatically. And
That's super cool how you can basically, now that you know how to code and program, you can solve problems that come up. Like you say, oh, I have this problem now, and then I can work on fix it because I know the language how to do that. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think there's just sort of, I have some exposure to it, and like for sure, like I'm not like a coder. Like I don't really code. I just sort of use it to solve a problem, like you would if you're welding or something, or you know what I mean. If you don't weld a ton, like I didn't weld a lot, but I was like, this is really useful. You know what I mean? And then next thing you know, you're kind of a welder, even though there's people that are infinitely better, right? But if you can apply it to the real world, then
to solve a problem you have.
A welder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick patch weld. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get by. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. You guys Mark, you've done a lot of it seems like you're the tech guy.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to program. I'm trying to learn Python just because that flows in the ArcGIS environment a lot.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So I don't know much. Like I'm just trying to learn the basic stuff to help solve some problems. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more. And now that I'm delving, like got my foot a bit in the water, I just want to dive deep and see what I can do with it and learn it.
That's great. Yeah, I find Python's really useful for like just sort of functional things. It doesn't need to be client facing. It doesn't need to face the public. It's just for making things work. I find it's a lot easier than JavaScript for just doing really functional stuff.
Yeah, and improving workflows too, like you streamline stuff and just creating your own tools in ArcMap as well that is pertaining to your company or your problems.
Yeah. So there's a coding side. You can open up our ArcMap and make your own workflows and all that, I guess.
Yeah, there is. I haven't, like I said, I'm new to it, but there's definitely there's Python and Arcade. Arcade is actually Esri's own language that they developed for ArcMap. So there's that too to learn as well, and there's I'm sure there's lots of cool stuff you can do that with that too.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, that's cool. What are you making now?
Now I'm just learning how to edit videos. So this is gonna be I've kind of gone away from the Python and coding stuff, so I'm trying to learn how to do some editing and just I don't know, dabbling in a whole bunch of different things.
Oh yeah, that's good. Learn all the keyboard shortcuts. That's what I like. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Play it like a piano.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, like once you learn that, you can speed up like crazy.
Yeah, I bet. DaVinci, or what are you using to edit?
DaVinci, yeah, it's free, so playing around with that one. Yeah,
that's a good one. I haven't used it, but I've heard
it's amazing. I can't believe it's free. Like for what you can do with it, it's mind blowing how it's free, because any competitor is pretty. You're paying a price for it. And I heard a lot of YouTubers use it. Like it's good for YouTubers to start off. So what I'm working on, just like I said, editing these podcasts, and I really like the new Esri tools you can have. So there's dashboards. So creating like dashboards that the client can open right away and view their projects, and be able to look at charts and what was done per day, and be able to click on that day of work and be able to zoom to that layer, for example.
Yeah.
Lots of cool stuff like that, and maybe even like incorporating all their projects into one map. Different things like that. Just kind of making it simpler and visually pleasing to the client to make it.
Yeah, the views are so powerful, when you get all the right stuff and none of the other stuff, and you can really get the handle on the project.
I remember when the pandemic was first starting, I found a coronavirus dashboard one, and you could see it spreading slowly. I'm like, oh, okay, the line's pretty flat, I think we're okay. And then you look at it a month later and you can just see it spiking like crazy, and this dashboard was crazy to be able to watch that while this pandemic was growing.
Wow. It was a map view.
Yeah, it was a dashboard view that showed all these different stats, like showing all the stats on the side, and the map showing where it's spreading and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been able to implement some stuff, Chris, into our like view links with Collector and stuff, where we can like see the production of each person, and they can be compared to the other guys, and you can get all sorts of graph and charts right on the side of like the view link and see.
Oh yeah.
So you can see all the work that's been captured in the field, zoom in and see everything, and then have all the statistics on the side.
Yeah.
So that's kind of some of the stuff Mark's been working on.
That's cool. Is Collector, is it only with ARC, or is it's its own thing you can use?
It's an Esri product, and it's linked to the ArcGIS online environment. So it's anything you capture in the field, any sync, it'll be onto your online environment, and then you can manipulate that however you want through other ways.
That sounds really good.
It's super cool.
Yeah, I should check it out.
Give me a call anytime. I'll help you out with it.
Yeah, I got another thing to learn.
Yeah.
Lots of time for that.
Yeah.
What are you working on, Branden?
Right now we're working on sales and bidding. We're bidding a lot.
Oh yeah, that's a big job. Yeah.
I think I mentioned it to you last time we spoke, but we hired a full-time manager in Kamloops, BC.
Oh yeah.
So he just started this week. So we've been onboarding him, getting him familiarized with sort of our employees that work within our organization and stuff. So what he has access to for resources and everything, and then also potential client bases in his area, and starting to kind of build up where we want to work and who we want to work for. So yeah, we've been working on that quite a bit this week. And cool. Then otherwise just regular logistical stuff. We're starting to get busy with our layout and stuff like that. It's that time of year. So just kind of coordinating and getting rolling. I know the next question that I had on the list here was about collaboration. One of our core values as a company is collaboration. And I know that me and you have collaborated on projects in past, various projects over multiple years. And just wanted to know how important collaboration is to you, and what your experience has been with it, and how to do collaboration successfully, and some of the challenges with it in industry and in the tree planting industry, I guess.
I could say, I would say a lot of my best business experiences are collaborating with someone else, especially someone that does like a similar service, not the same service, but like, you know what I mean? Like a complementary service, and those are really good experiences. And I think it's like with talented people, it's always a little scary, or like, it takes a bit of risk and a bit of ambition, to work with people that have a lot of resources, and you don't want to waste your time and stuff like that. But then it's always, it's amazing what you can learn from people that just have a lot of resources and have been successful at things. So when you find the right partners like yourself, it's it's just easy. It's just a natural thing to do. No, for sure. I do agree. Like finding a mutual fit and having mutual understanding is super important. And communication is always key too. So being able to pick up the phone and chat about different things and make sure that you can make it work for both parties, kind of thing, which I know lots of people in industry struggle to do that. So being able to have that clear communication and upfront, and kind of set where the expectations are from both ends, and then move forward is
how we've successfully been able to do it in the past.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think people struggle. They're used to keeping their cards close to their chest or whatever, and which is fine, But like that's what it takes that initial kind of risk, or it's a little scary at first, but once you start doing it, the payoff is pretty clear, right? Especially when it's a two-way thing, and then it just feels right, and then it's good. It's a positive thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. The next question that I have here is, what are some of the biggest opportunities in the tree planting industry that you see in the next 10 years? And what do you anticipate some of the challenges to be?
I mean, I guess I always want there to be more, like I feel like reforestation and, the whole climate situation. I just think as tree planters, it's our job to do as much as we can, and I hope we can provide more value than we have in the past, as much as we've done. It's like, you want to do more. But yeah, the opportunities there's going to be lots of opportunities. I mean, it's becoming popular. You can see it in the public. People are talking about it now, in a way that I haven't seen. It's not just anecdotal. Like now it's like, it's really making it in like the news and stuff. And I don't know. I'm not sure how it'll play out, but it's cool to see.
Hopefully that brings in more funding too for reclamation to give more opportunities to tree plant as well, with the bigger public eye, and especially to push for environmental change.
Yeah. Have you guys seen a change? Like, are you getting different types of opportunities and stuff, or like, is it?
We've seen some like private land stuff and like things around watersheds on private land and different types of stuff like that, which is not very traditional for that to happen. Some like government backing and things like that. The current Liberal government has, I think they want to plant 2 billion trees and primarily on private land. So I think that is a huge transition. Not sure how that's going to play out, but government backing and funding is definitely huge. And like I never seen much for tree planting on private land ever, unless it was like a farmer wanting to go out and actually do it for some reason. But now with carbon credits and different types of factors coming into play, we're starting to see it definitely more and more in central northern Alberta on private land. So
I've been impressed with the landowners, like how many of them want to plant now, and just like how open-minded people are to putting trees on their land. Like, I mean, it's such a valuable thing for a family and stuff to have land, and it's so cool that they would want to put trees on their land. It's especially when it's not well defined, like climate, carbon credit and stuff is not a done deal. Like there's no real clear path to that, but they just want to go ahead and try anyway. And it's great to see that.
Yeah, and I think there's examples in Alberta where they've cleared for years and years and years land, and in some cases cleared like significant areas of land. And I've noticed like growing up in the areas, lack of wildlife in a lot of different locations where there's just miles and miles of straight fields. Like animals like to hide in different types of brush and fence lines and things like that, and consistently they've been getting taken out more and more. So I think there's definitely starting to be a lot more programs coming out to help offset that, because I mean it's a cost to the farmers if they're going to leave those fence lines and brush it and stuff. So I think that some of that additional funding will help with that.
Yeah, I hope there's more research on like some of these windrows and stuff that they're planting a lot more between fields and everything, like kind of agroforestry, or the Canadian version of it. Like you hear about it in other countries, and they do it here. I wish they'd call it that, and that I'd like to see more research about it. It would be interesting to see what the benefits are, right? Is it in the area you're from? You said it's been cleared a lot, like.
I mean, exactly where I'm at, there's been a lot of clearing, but a bit further south than us, there's been a lot more. And I'm an avid hunter. I do for a bit of hunting and stuff in the fall, and so we get really familiarized with wildlife, travel patterns and things like that. And it depends on the species, but I mean, animals typically, most of them, big game, want to hide in some sort of brush and shrubs and stuff, and have pathways where they can get from one area to another without being in the wide open, where they might get hunted or shot at. So yeah, like you definitely know the areas that have been like super cleared out, and a lot of times you might struggle a bit more to see wildlife in those locations from my experience.
Wow. Huh. Well,
but I understand. Yeah, I understand why the farmers do it, right? It's every acre is an acre, and that produces income for them as a field, and timber takes whatever 100 years or more typically to become worth decent value in our lands. So they're not going to see the return on timber, which so yeah, I think if more of these programs can come into place, I think that there's an opportunity for planting to help kind of build more of a landscape that's not as like 100% cleared type thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the attitude is changing towards it. Like, I understand, like in the fields where the combines and stuff turn around, like they don't go straight to the corners, eh? And a lot of times, I mean, that would be a huge amount of area if you took every quarter section or every section of field, and you know what I mean, where those corners are, you have the rows between the roads and stuff like that, and right of ways, and I think if you really look at it, there's quite a lot of land that could be reforested without disturbing their cash crop, you know?
Yeah. Some of the stuff that we've been doing for planting with like Alice Canada, for example, they'll come in and set stuff up with farmers to like plant more of the lower land areas near watersheds and stuff like that. And I think that's really beneficial work. It helps protect like things like farmer spray going into the creeks, and it kind of builds a vegetative buffer around the creeks to help reduce sedimentation and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that there's a step in the right direction happening for sure. And it's just a matter of getting some more backing and making it worthwhile for farmers, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like that's a good deal both ways, like for the public and for everybody. The investment, it doesn't cost much to reforest that land. And if the farmers, I figure anyone, if they're willing to put trees on their land, it should be a public good, or just provided someone should fund that.
Now that you say that, like I'm just thinking back when I was traveling in Europe, like and looking at even imagery, pretty much all of their farms, or a lot of their farms, are all surrounded by forest. Like they have, though, like you said, those corners are forested, and the crop is right to the forest edge in a lot of areas, and they have lots of hunting there too, and it's good for the wildlife. But yeah, that's interesting that you bring that up. I think that's a great idea. And there's so much to plant, so many areas to reforest.
Yeah. I mean, once you start thinking about it, it's hard to put it down.
Yeah.
I remember that I was in Germany a few years ago, and like taking the train around, and I couldn't believe how many trees there were. Yeah. You think Germany is such a populated country. I would have thought. I just had no idea they had so much kind of wild area. Like,
and you look at the imagery too, and you're like, oh wow, there's not like in Europe in general, there's not a lot of big forested areas. But you look at, like you said, like it's, as you're on the ground level, there's trees everywhere. It's just not as dense, I guess, as you would find in a typical big forest.
Yeah, it'll be good to see. It'll be interesting to see what the Liberal government, what their plan is. Like they were pretty tight-lipped on it at the beginning, and then now they're.
If they follow
kind
through,
of an interesting bidding thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure which. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what comes of that. I think there's a hybrid. They're kind of doing it in different countries. There's kind of versions of this. It's starting to.
Yeah, pick up a bit.
Yeah.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges in the next 10 years, Chris, in the industry?
I think the challenge for me, like it's always been that tree planting's a little bit frivolous. You know what I mean? Like we're like the little weird cousin of forestry or something. Like people want to like trees. They want tree planting to do well, but it's different than it actually being taken seriously. You know what I mean? As a serious job. And I don't know if it's us or if it's whatever it is. I think people there's no tree planting school, or like, you know what I mean? Like it's always just an offshoot of it's something else. You know what I mean? And I think it needs to stand on its own. And I don't know what'll change that or whatever, but I think that's a big challenge, is getting it to be seen as, it's not like some sort of charity or something. It's like becoming really important. Like, yeah, that's the problem. That's what I find hard.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Sure.
What do you think? Like, what's the challenge? Like,
in regards to well, I think if there's if there's lack of government or public approvals for different types of things, and that'll be a challenge. But like we said, I think that's more of an opportunity the way that things have been going. I think that in regards to the business side, I think technology. I mean, what's happening? It's happening to us in our like block layout and stuff. Our workload's been reduced a lot due to equipment having proper GPSs in it and stuff like that, where we don't have to actually walk the entire block and actually flight ribbon anymore in a lot of cases. So I would say in 10 years, I mean, it depends how fast technology moves forward, but maybe there's some sort of robotic machine or I know in Europe they have types of machines like actual modified logging, basically.
Where they slam trees in. Yeah. That one where they do the stakes. Have you seen that? The staking machine where they put they put full stakes in, and then it chops the stakes as it and drives them in the ground. Those things are unbelievably fast.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Can you do that in a cup block?
No, it's more like it's a combine. Like it's a combine made for stakes.
Yeah. You need a field.
Yeah.
So I think things like that and drones and stuff. I'm talking more like some of the challenges as a business owner is kind of what I'm leaning on. I think would be technology integration, changing the scope of our work, and then having to adjust and adapt to that. Things like drones and stuff, like spreading seed or doing different types of things. I'm not really sure. Like, it would take something that would work really well to be able to like not need tree planters. But technology keeps improving so quickly. It's hard to say what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yeah. I think it'll have to do more with information and logistics and stuff like that. Like, I know there's high hopes for mechanized tree planting, but like the actual input, like the cost of actually tree planters, it's just not that big. So even if you did get rid of it entirely, a lot of the cost is the land and the other factors, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think the major improvements will be information and just like public understanding. Like, you know, if the market does not good information, then it's not an efficient market, you know? And that's why I think if tree planting was taken more seriously, there's more scrutiny on what's happening. And I think it just, when people understand it better and the information's moving better, then I think it'll be a more efficient market, and then there'll be a lot of innovation there that would drive down the cost.
Yeah, for sure.
That's maybe,
Makes sense to me. That's cool.
Yeah, because the input is like, it's not that great. Like if you look at what it costs to plant a field of corn versus, I don't know, pineapples or trees, you know, it's not really the cost of actually putting them in the ground.
It's the logistics.
It's not a huge percent. Yeah. There's a lot of different factors and what it's worth. Like, what are the trees worth? That would be the big hope, is that they're actually valued higher.
And be able to maintain that too, like not necessarily clear cut it, but like if you're filling in areas to have it sustain itself and be a successful like regenerating forest over and over.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of the work you're doing, is the mapping and stuff. I mean, we haven't even seen what they'll come to analytics and stuff from the vegetation. You know, I mean, it's pretty new that they're able to really, really look at high quality satellite images. So I wonder what they'll be able to prescribe, like what a prescription will be like in 10 years from now.
Yeah, that's really
Hopefully
cool.
It could be a lot better. Could be more accurate, or who knows.
We've been utilizing drones a bit, and we're able to get some kind of like neat hydrology models, and like we're able to calculate volumes of log decks and gravel piles and things like that. And I think in the future, like on the layout side and on potentially on, like you say, the prescription side, being able to use like LiDAR based cameras to figure out on a more zoomed in scale to figure out exactly like the best kind of species to put long term that aren't going to die due to drought and or flooding or whatever, and being able to pick up additional information. And then there might be more analytical side beforehand, like you say, pre-planning.
Yeah. Have you guys had a lot of use for LiDAR? Like, is it part of your program? Like, are you looking at images?
For our layout, we use LiDAR like every day, basically.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
These are like the mill had purchased the images or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, in Alberta, like most or pretty much all FMA holders have LiDAR for their whole FMA. In BC doing forestry work there, I noticed that a lot of companies don't have LiDAR. I'm not really sure as to why that is. I think it's a cost thing.
Yeah.
But the way that whoever's selling it or whatever, I'm not really sure. But yeah, it has huge benefits for us. Like our ground crews, when we're doing block layout, use it continuously. That's how we figure out like where the creeks are going to be and or potentially be. So a lot of times when we're doing ribbonless layout and stuff now, you're just headed to predicted stream layers based off of bare earth and stuff like that. And then you can have
that's handy.
Height models of the trees too. So you can figure out kind of where your merchantability line is going to be or not be.
Yeah.
And they're doing some interesting stuff now where they can utilize LiDAR, calibrated LiDAR based off of some tree measurement programs, like doing temporary sample plots. And then they can figure out in different types of stand types. So they can tie AVI to LiDAR height and be able to get specific, like pretty accurate volume estimates of a block before they even do anything.
That's awesome. Do you think they're going to start doing AVI with LiDAR? Like AVI plots are still like a pretty manual thing, I think.
It's pretty accurate right now. The main thing they can tell coniferous species very well, but as soon as it comes to deciduous and the shrubby material, it's really hard to distinguish the species. But it's coming along though.
I know some of the LiDAR stuff that we were doing up in the north part of the province, like plots to tie to LiDAR, some of their biggest issues and areas that we were going to look at was birch versus aspen from the ortho imageries and the satellite imageries. A lot of the aspen was being classified as birch, or birch being classified as aspen.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, there's certain scenarios, but yeah, I think like I have friends that in the industry, people that I know in the industry that are looking at implementing like LiDAR backpack cameras and stuff like that for measuring the diameters and heights of the trees, where they would just walk into a plot and it would just auto calculate the whole entire tree.
Stems. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, not just at chest height, but at like the whole tree from top to bottom. So you can calculate everything, even the like merchantability of the tree potentially, if it's got like twists and things in it. But then then it becomes a data overload, right?
It would just be so much. Yeah.
So I think some of the technology's out there, but being able to utilize the data afterwards in a proper manner, I think is a huge concern. And then being able to get it allowed in legislation is always the next concern. Like, you can do a lot of different stuff with drones right now and capture a lot of different information, but a lot of times you're not legally able to do that for the legal requirements in the forest industry, just due to some of the legislation around how they have to do their different surveys and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I wonder if there's going to be more access to like current and better quality satellite images, because it seems like right now it's just the big players. Like it, you know what I mean? It's not, you can't just buy like a small piece of it or whatever. But and then they have a lot of new smaller satellites. They're putting up more satellites all the time. So I wonder if that would make a big difference. Like, I mean, I can imagine. I always wonder, like, boy, I wish I could see an image of it, 3 months ago or whatever, right? And I wonder if that'll become a thing where it'll just become more readily available.
be nice to have it on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
There is services out there that I think they just have to pay a lot of money for it. I do know that they have that because we've been approached before from companies asking us if we wanted daily imagery.
Daily, really?
Yeah, I think it was up. You can get daily. Yeah.
I've looked into it, but it's always like, some massive amount of land. It's not like you buy like this block or whatever. Like, you need like to buy like a huge area. Yeah.
That's probably what it was. I'd never really looked into it more than that. They pitched it. And that
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. You could tell pretty quick this was not going to fit the budget. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. I think technology's come a long ways, but I think some areas of it stagnates for a while until someone decides to do something more with it. So I think, people can kind of keep pushing some of this and trying to make it more readily available to the public too. I mean, there's a lot of value in current information for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of excitement. I mean, it's always going to be like a trial and error. A lot of it you try or you get excited about something and it doesn't really work, and then maybe it might be years. Maybe it's just too soon or there's not enough funding. Things are harder than they seem to. A lot of times they do stuff that doesn't. It just wasn't realistic, but it's good to try, and it's kind of just a hobby, like just to try to figure something out that, it's like fun to do,
Yeah, I think one of the biggest opportunities is just to kind of stay on top of the technology. I think that if you can kind of be somewhat on the higher up on the learning end, and then being able to implement some of that in your organization, I think that's going to be really important in the next 10 years. When talking about opportunities, because it just seems to change so quickly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I like learning, Python or something like that would be great. Like coding and stuff it's not going to, I don't think, it doesn't seem like it's going to go away, because it's like all those apps, like every application they think of or every use, it's going to have some kind of API, and you're going to have to stitch it together with some, it's all got to move or be useful in your organization. And that's these are cool things to learn. I mean, that I feel like I'm not wasting my time learning a coding project, even though what I mean, even if nothing comes of it, it's like, it's kind of just practice for what's coming.
Thing about languages, and also Python in specific, it's very scientifically backed and used in the scientific field. Like scientists, you will use that to manipulate data, and like you can do lots with it. Like it's very friendly for using data, I guess, and manipulating data. Whereas you got like other code languages like HTML, where it's mainly just for websites, for example. Whereas Python, you can really manipulate data.
Yeah, I find it. Yeah, it's really good. It's hard, like you say, like you start learning one thing and then you get distracted. I think that is a challenge as a business owner, and like you say, trying to be ahead of it. Like you want to learn different things, and I guess like for Branden and I, it's like we're sort of scanning the road a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to get your head down. When the pandemic first came in, I just locked myself up. I just was just completely in a chamber and just coded, or tried to, and that was like the best. I was better at it then than I've been since, because it's easy. You got to really be in the headspace for it, and that's why I think young workers and tree planters and stuff, like, you guys should just put your heads down, and if you apply yourselves like you do to tree planting, it's amazing. Surveyors, like, I think that like the jobs we do in forestry and stuff, they're kind of meticulous. It's not that different than coding. Like you have to care about a tiny thing, like the way your flag tape holds or whatever, like
attention to detail.
And you care enough. And these are tiny details. And that's, if you care about these tiny little incremental changes, that's kind of not that different than trying to make two columns line up in the perfect, way.
No, for sure. It's a very like meticulous, and also very like you want to be accurate as well. And it like any kind of survey work is like that. It's no different than working on a program or doing any other job. Like it's just in a different environment.
Yeah, it's a pretty different environment for sure. There's not bees.
No bears at the desk.
Yeah, I don't need duct tape to keep my body enclosed together.
Chris, just to end off, I'll just ask one more question. What's been what's been some of the hardest things that you've had to like get through as a business owner? And then what have been some of the most enjoyable things about being able to run a company and a successful organization?
I don't know. I mean, lots of stuff's hard. It's hard. It's hard to find your place. I think defining the relationships you have with people and trying to integrate other things besides tree planting. You know, if you're good at if you love tree planting, and then you wake up and realize that you can't make money tree planting because you're stuck on the computer and fixing trucks and you're terrible at everything else. You know, that's a really humbling thing, eh? So like to try to get out of that headspace of just tree planting and focusing on everything else, that was a huge shift. And yeah. And then that's huge. That's rewarding too. Like, you know, realizing that you can apply the same skills to other things. That's really, really awesome feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say some of my most rewarding days are being able to have like an employee come to you or something that you've been kind of mentoring them into doing something, and then all of a sudden they're starting to see success in that, right? So you can kind of share your knowledge with them, and then see them starting to succeed in a specific space. I think that those are some of the best days for sure. Being able to like starting to see success and things kind of coming together. But definitely the challenges that I've seen is just the day-to-day grind. I think when you're running a business, it's chaos. I mean, there's a lot of things happening all the time, and basically you're the guy that all the problems funnel to, right? In one way or another. If things are going good, you usually don't hear about it, and if things are going bad, you hear about everything. So, I would say the biggest challenges are always just dealing with the problems and the grind and staying persistent in what you're doing, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just stay on top of the fire, and yeah, but it's fun. It's really rewarding. I mean, the harder it is, the better the feeling when you get over it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right
awesome.
On.
Well, we appreciate your time tonight or this afternoon, Chris. And,
Whew, I still got some light. Yeah.
Appreciate you hopping on Industry Talks at Forteck. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise in the planting industry. It's great to learn from those that have done. So appreciate your time. I'm sure that our viewers will get a lot out of this. And we'll stay in touch and have yourself a great rest of your day.
Great. Yeah. Good talking to you guys too.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, everyone.